all of us here, we don't always agree. I don't always agree with Dan Loney or
No.
Bill Archer or even Jamie Trecker. But you know what? I never.
Even Jamie, I'm not going there. Go ahead.
But I never have had the inkling to go onto one of your posts and call you names or call you an idiot or say anything derogatory. I might just disagree with you and that would be
Sure.
fine. But that's not what. And we're talking about civility and discourse here. And it's not only just between the fans that go on blogs all over the net, but it's also even sometimes between the writers, because they don't like each other sometimes as well.
You're right.
Am I making too big of a deal of this? Should we just kind of deal with maybe the lack of civility as I see it sometimes in the discourse, or are you okay with it?
Well, speaking as someone who has taken more than his fair share of abuse, I mean, those Canadians get nasty. Yeah. They get crazed. They really do. They really hate me, and I don't understand it. I'm such a nice guy. But isn't it the nature of the internet? I mean, isn't this an anonymity? If I was sitting across the table from you, even if we'd had a couple of drinks when we were sitting across the table from you, you still aren't going to go all, I almost said a word I shouldn't say. You aren't going to go nuts and start screaming invectives and stuff. But the internet, I think, isn't it just the nature of the beast?
Yeah, I think there's something to that, and that probably is it. But when I get this general sense that, maybe a guy like Jonah, well, let's start with Jamie Trecker. I mean, a lot of people have said some pretty nasty things about him. They've called him a tool. A tool of what? I'm not quite sure. But, I mean, you can disagree with the guy, right? I mean, I disagree with Jamie all the time and still not think he's a putz, you know what I mean? Or maybe if you think he's a putz, but you could still be nice to him. Maybe I'm just being idealistic.
I badly went after Ivis Galarcep once. This was a couple years ago. I just jumped all over. I treated him like a redhead stepchild. I just beat him. And then I met Ivis, and he's a nice guy, but I didn't shy away from it. I mean, he knew that. He mentioned it. But now, now that I've met him and talked to him, and every time I run into him, we always have a pleasant conversation. I wouldn't say that we were friends necessarily, but once you've looked the guy in the eye and talked to him, it's a lot harder to go online and call him three kinds of nasty names, Yep. Now, I can't go around and shake everybody in Canada's hand.
You could try.
I could try, sure, but all those shoot on site posters that are in the border crossings really make it difficult because I'm going to be gunned down on my way across and wear a funny, a Groucho mask or something. Bruce McGuire, the guy who does Denord.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is he got to be the ultimate blogger in soccer, but he is. I mean, everyone respects Bruce. And he once told me, he said, I went through the same thing, got a bunch of, every time I wrote something, everybody climbed down your throat, and some idiot you never heard of climbs out of the woodwork and calls you names and this and that and whatever. And in the beginning, you responded to them and said, oh, yeah, well, what's wrong with you? And you can spend your whole life doing that. He said, the thing that happens is if you leave it alone, the people in your comment thread will do it for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was very hard because I can be kind of combative, and I was on Big Soccer for years before I started blogging, and somebody says something. It's like that old cartoon about the girl, the guy sitting at a computer, and there's a voice from upstairs, and the voice says, "When are you coming to bed, honey? It's late." And the guy says, "I can't come now. There's somebody on the internet who's wrong." And he's kind of, yeah, you can spend your whole life doing that, and it's a lot more effective. They expect you to argue with them. What they don't expect is three commenters to come online and say you're an idiot.
Yeah.
But it's the whole blogging thing, the whole soccer thing, the whatever. It brings them out, and it's okay. It's all, they read the thing. They gave you a hit. They read your thing. They're probably going to read your thing tomorrow.
Yep.
Well, it's funny. Most of our hate comes from international posters, and it's not like we take an offense. I mean, I guess the Qatar vidcast was probably the worst we've ever done, which still wasn't that bad by any means. But
wait. People from Qatar wrote or Qatar. How do you say that?
We say
Qatar, but
yeah, we say Qatar, but if you're George Bush, you say Qatar.
Well, the military seems to say Qatar, and George Bush had to heard it from somewhere, Lord knows. But people from Qatar commented, wrote in, and said nasty things. Where are these people from?
Yeah, and that's
Who cares about Qatar?
Exactly. Yeah, and we just kind of let it flow. We said,
it's just funny because most of the comments aren't very constructive, obviously because it's just hate.
Right.
But a lot of it's like, oh, you stupid Americans, you don't know what you're talking about, or that's a lot of the bulk we took from the Serbian fans during the World Cup when we both picked Serbia hitting dead last in the group, which they did.
Yeah, they did.
I would give Serbians carry guns. You see,
yeah, that's
Qatar
scary.
Is being wealthy. They're buying airplanes and Maseratis and stuff. They don't have time to worry about But Serbians can be nasty. Watch out for those.
Yeah, and there are a lot of Serbians in the United States, and I would guess, 90% of them that responded to us were American Serbians. But you have to have a thick skin in this business. You have to, you got to kind of take the nasty things.
And it's not easy. That's easy to say.
It is.
But and the Canadians are a perfect example. The Canadians, I ticked them off. Although oddly, everything that I said or that originally ticked them off, I said three things. I said their stadium had artificial turf and that it stunk, terrible playing surface. I said their coach was a lunatic who ought to be institutionalized. And I said that Canada ought to go get their own league and let the United States have, like every other grown-up country in the world, except them, they ought to have their own league. And they went nuts, and there were people. We literally went through a period where some of these people were creating 3 and 4 sock puppets a day, just so that they could have a different sock puppet on there saying something insulting to me, And the moderators can tell this stuff. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But as it turned out, within a year, they ripped up the field because it was so terrible and put down grass. They fired the coach after, the guy sat in the stands and griped about MLS and conspiracies and everything. He was clearly nuts. And just last year, they hired a new national team coach, and at the very first press conference he said, gee, Canada really needs its own league if it's ever going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So everything that the Canadians hated me about turned out to be, exactly right. Yeah. But they hated me anyway, and that's okay, because it's, they do me a great service because I love being loved, and they're great guys.
There's nothing worse than being right sometimes, but nothing more glorious as well.
Well said.
Now, we are actually way the hell over time.
Okay.
But we could probably go on for at least.
I have a boring life. I have nothing in my life.
Why is that? I mean, all the people that we interview say the same thing.
I don't know. It's something about soccer.
I don't know. Maybe we're all married with, families and kids. But
I love you, dear. He doesn't speak for me. Okay, my marriage is the most exciting thing about my life. There.
But Bill, we wanted to thank you for coming on. It's been a great hour. And
thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Almost an hour.
I normally don't do this sort of thing, but I am a big fan of you guys. I don't say, I'm not, I don't say, stuff that I don't mean just because I listen to your stuff. I love your stuff, and so I'm really pleased and happy that you had me on.
Well, we definitely appreciate all that as well. We need all the support we can get, moral or otherwise. But thanks for coming on, and you can count on the fact that we're going to have you on again if you'll have us.
I'll look forward to it. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, you too, Bill. Take care.